if images of the massive caravan of migrants headed to the U.S. border has you worried, you can credit President Trump for that. The group, now vastly dwindled, is mostly made up of people fleeing Honduras. But the president has said otherwise, and the media has dutifully reported his words. In recent days, President Trump has made a series of unproven allegations about the migrant caravan headed for the U.S. border, starting with blaming Democrats for the whole mess.
They are about allowing crime to enter our country with open borders.
And speaking of crime, Trump further states that in the midst of the caravan are dangerous terrorists and gang members.
You're going to find MS-13, you're going to find Middle Eastern.
All charges dutifully reported by the news media, if even with skepticism.
Saying today without evidence that there are unknown Middle Easterners among the migrants.
That caravan is not going away.
The true believers at Fox News took the fear-mongering a step further, hiding in the bushes at a Texas border.
There was paddling in the raft. This is an attempt to illegally cross.
And when a Honduran woman told Griff Jenkins she was trying to escape gangs and murderers in her homeland, he brushed it off.
But they're not all women and children. Officials here announcing over the weekend a man wanted for murder in South Carolina was arrested here.
Never mind, it had nothing to do with the caravan.
Thank you.
The problem for the media is that by amplifying Trump's message, it plays into more misinformation, like these bogus social media posts purporting to show Hondurans burning the American flag, caravan babies carrying disease, and a bloodied Mexican policeman, a photo taken 6 years ago at a student riot in Mexico City.
Yeah, we got to stop them before they get here.
And that, it appears, is the message the media is delivering. And that is the problem when you quote the President of the United States verbatim. You get this message that there are MS-13, that there are terrorists. That picture, by the way, of the bloodied policeman in Mexico City was tweeted out by Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny. I mean, they don't know. You know, if it comes into the inbox, they just spit it back out, and you get something from somebody like that, you know, people believe it.
So I'm not sure what you would have the media do.
Not
report on public comments by the president?
But the problem is that you have to, it's one thing to say unproven. You have to say it's not true. See, and Lester Holt is saying it's unproven, but it's like they did go into the middle of the caravan.
I mean, Lester Holt hasn't vetted every member of that caravan. No, he can say, I think he said as much as he could say. Yeah. There's no evidence being offered here. And, you know, look, in the end, there's only so much any journalist can do. Ultimately, it relies on the consumer of news to exercise some judgment and discretion, to know the difference between a meme that shows up on your Facebook page, no date stamp, no idea where it came from, and something you see on the network news. Yeah. Well, I don't know what we can do about that.
Well, the problem is President Trump himself is the comment section come to life. And so it becomes incredibly difficult to vet this stuff when it's coming directly out of the mouth of the president. I think that in some ways this really speaks to the limits of what journalism can do or can be expected to do. Because the coverage I've seen has been pretty good. It's pointed out that there's no evidence for any of this. The context is that he's trying to whip up his base ahead of the midterms, and yet you just get overwhelmed by the images and the fear.
And let me just interject, he was forced to admit there's no proof.
Yes.
Yes. By what the media kept pointing out. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a gift for President Trump, no matter which way. Whether it's a righty media or lefty media reporting this, it's a gift for him. He's a true demagogue. One of the things that demagogues do is they demonize immigrants. They demonize the press. It's playing right into his hands at this moment. And it was interesting, the Daily Beast quoting one Trump official says, it doesn't matter that he's not telling the truth because this is the play. So if this is the play, then boy, that's it's coming right out of his mouth.
So I would just like to see a separation of a couple of things because it is more of a complex issue than can be presented in many of the reports. And you're right, there has been a great amount of attempt to contextualize this. But in every story, you can't go back to say, the last time we had a caravan like this, 3 people of all those people that they swore were coming to tear down the border, 3 people were allowed to come in, all right? other people turned back. By the time they actually got to the border, here were the numbers. You know, these are the kinds of things that you need to be repeated, but you can't do that in every story. So right away, you've lost part of the context. There is some stuff that he's saying, there's a lot of stuff that he's saying that's just a flat-out lie, period. And then there's other stuff, to your point, where, okay, I didn't count everybody in the line, so I can't say anything except without evidence. What I'm annoyed about is that when I see the reports, they're mostly saying, President Trump has said, without evidence. That's not strong enough for me. Yeah. Separate out the flat-out lie. You know good and damn well that there is not a Middle Easterner in that. You know that. Well, come on.
And the problem,
don't tell me without evidence. Separate that out from that which you really can't tell me, and I maybe can hear it a little bit better.
But then what happens if there is one?
All right, well, then we say...
And then you said there weren't.
But maybe it's somebody who's also fleeing out of fear of their lives. Maybe they live in Honduras. Has nothing to do with being an ISIS member.
You're not supposed to, as a journalist, make flat declarative statements without knowing for sure.
Well, then begin to tell me again all the other times he's lied about this. President Trump has lied about Middle Easterners being here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. Now, you can say he's now said it with regard to this caravan. It's just so frustrating because it's, you know, I think that the story has to be reported, but good God, you know, say something that is clear to people that a lot of this is being whipped up, that this is the play, as you said, Mike, that they understand this is the play.
Oh, I think they completely understand it, yeah.
It reminds me of an incident that happened when a less toxic president, Ronald Reagan, was in office, but he also would really put the emphasis on the pictures and the images that they wanted to get across. Now, it wasn't images showing fear, it was images of very gauzy, warm content. And there was a reporter, famous story, and I can't remember the reporter's name, Leslie Stahl, who, you know where I'm going with this. She did a really, really tough report. And she thought, boy, I better cower in the corner. They're going to be coming after me. And they contacted her, and they said, the pictures were beautiful, Leslie.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good story. Yep.